Hello, welcome back. You are doing great. We already completed 50% of the chapters. In series, we are covering PM Body of Knowledge 6th edition. Now, we will focus on to Chapter 8, that is Project Quality Management. Let's begin.
Imagine this. You're planning the biggest annual school event. Maybe your school's sports day, yeah. Something everyone in school is just buzzing about.
Right, the big one.
You've got the track marked, the medals shine, the refreshments, well, hopefully ready. Or maybe you're helping organize a huge community Durga Puja celebration, a truly grand affair.
A massive undertaking, yeah.
Everyone's excited, you've put in so much effort, weeks of planning, but then disaster strikes. The sound system stops working during the main performance on sports day.
Oh, no.
Just as the winning team is about to receive their trophy. Or at the Durga Puja, the idol's intricate decoration, which took weeks, literally weeks to create, starts to fall apart on the first day itself, right in front of everyone.
That sinking feeling. Or perhaps on a lighter but, equally frustrating note, you've ordered your favorite comfort food, a delicious plate of pani puri. That perfect blend of tangy, spicy, sweet. You can practically taste it, but when it arrives, the pures are stale, no crunch at all, and the filling tastes well off. It's definitely not what you expected. That crushing feeling of disappointment, that's what happens when quality goes missing.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we want to avoid, isn't it? So how do we make absolutely sure the kind of disappointment doesn't happen? How do you ensure that when you plan something, whether it's a school event, a community celebration, or even just preparing your own project for class, it comes out exactly as you imagine, or, even better?
That's the goal.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into something called Project Quality Management. Now, that sounds incredibly fancy, I know, like something only big corporations or government bodies do.
It does sound a bit intimidating.
But at its core, it's really about making sure things are done right, consistently, every single time, just properly.
And our mission today is to sort of demystify this idea of quality management. We want to make it super clear and relatable for you, almost like giving you a shortcut, a way to understand how massive projects, like building a magnificent new metro line or maybe a grand temple,
Huge project.
and even your daily tasks, like ensuring your school science project gets that top score, can be done with, excellence.
We'll explore the what, the why, and the how of quality, breaking down some core principles from the world of professional project management. And you'll see how these powerful ideas apply to everything around you, from a grand public work to the simple pleasure of a perfectly made chai by your favorite chai wallet.
Ah, the perfect tie. That's a high bar for quality right there.
It really is. So get ready for some aha moments, maybe some surprising facts, and hopefully a few laughs as we learn how to make quality not just a lofty goal, but a truly guaranteed outcome.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this fundamental concept first. At its heart, Project Quality Management, or PQM as they sometimes call it,
PQM, yeah.
it's like having a superpower almost that makes sure everything in a project meets all the requirements and expectations, of everyone involved. It's not just about the final product you see or use, like that beautiful new school building, for example. It's fundamentally about the way you make it, the entire process, ensuring it's the absolute best it can be. It's about being precise, thorough at every single step.
Think of it this way. When you make a beautiful rangoli for Diwali, you don't just randomly throw colors around, do you?
Definitely not. Mine would look terrible if I did.
Right. You first plan the intricate design, maybe sketching it out. Then you carefully choose the right vibrant colors that will bring your vision to life. You meticulously fill them in, paying real attention to detail. And only then do you stand back to see if it looks perfect, if it truly matches your artistic vision.
That final check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That entire process, from the initial planning, the careful execution, and that final check, that's quality management for your Rangoli project. It's about meeting your own artistic vision and, importantly, the expectations of your family and guests who will admire its beauty. It's ensuring that what you set out to create is what you actually get, or maybe even better.
So why bother with all this quality stuff? I mean, why not just get things done quickly, maybe cut a few corners here and there?
It's tempting sometimes, isn't it?
It is. But, well, imagine a new flyover, a major bridge being built in your bustling city. If the quality of construction isn't good, if the materials are shoddy, or the engineering is flawed, what happens?
Disaster.
It could develop cracks, become unsafe, or in the absolute worst case scenario, it could even collapse. And that's not just a huge problem, it's a catastrophic failure. It impacts thousands of lives daily, causes massive traffic jams, wastes enormous amounts of public money.
And what's fascinating here, or maybe terrifying, is that bad quality isn't just about things physically breaking or crumbling. It has a much wider ripple effect, often invisible at first.
How so?
Well, it can lead to missing crucial deadlines because you have to constantly redo work. Like, imagine a painter having to repaint a whole wall because the first coat was patchy and rushed.
Right, wasted time and effort.
Exactly. This rework, in turn, means losing money, and it severely damages trust. Think about it. If a popular clothing brand rushes to get new designs out for a major festival like Eid or Diwali, but the stitching is poor, buttons fall off, or colors bleed after the first wash,
You'd be pretty annoyed.
you'd stop buying from them, wouldn't you? This directly affects their business, their reputation, and even the livelihoods of their workers. It's a really costly mistake, both financially and in terms of that lost goodwill, that trust.
And it applies to your world, too. Think about preparing for your, let's say, very important board exams. If you rush your studies, just cramming everything at the last minute, not really ensuring you've truly understood the concepts clearly.
Just hoping for the best.
Yeah, you might get poor marks. That, in essence, is a failure to meet requirements for your exam project. You didn't produce the quality of understanding needed to meet the expected outcome. It just highlights that quality applies to anything where you have an expected outcome, not just physical products.
That's a great point. It could be a perfectly organized school feat, a brilliantly acted play, or even, a delicious meal you cook for your family. Quality matters everywhere.
It really does.
So project quality management, therefore, stands on three main pillars. Think of it like the three crucial steps to making a truly perfect cup of chai.
Okay, I like this analogy. 3 pillars, 3 steps for chai. What are they?
First, there's plan quality management. This is like deciding precisely what perfect chai means to you and your family. Is it strong and spicy with extra ginger?
Ginger chai.
Or maybe sweet and creamy with lots of milk? You decide the exact proportions of sugar, ginger, milk, tea leaves. You're setting the recipe for success. This is where you define what quality looks like for your specific project.
Got it. Define the perfection. Step 1.
Second, we have manage quality. This is where you actually make the chai, meticulously following your predetermined recipe. You're making sure the process itself is right. Are you boiling the water enough? Are you adding the ingredients in the correct order and at the right time?
The method.
Exactly. This is about ensuring your method is sound and consistent so you can be confident that chai will turn out great every time. It's about the how.
Okay, plan the recipe, follow the method. What's the third pillar?
And finally, there's control quality. This is the crucial step of tasting the chai to see if it's absolutely perfect.
The taste test.
The taste test. If it's not quite right, maybe it's a bit too sweet or not enough ginger, you figure out exactly why, and then you make immediate small adjustments. Maybe add a splash more milk or let it simmer a little longer. This is the final check and refinement, ensuring the end result matches your initial vision.
Plan, manage, control, define it, do it right, check it. Sounds simple enough?
In essence, yes, but each step involves quite a bit.
Right. So we're going to dive into each of these pillars now, one by one, seeing how they connect and how they work together to help you deliver truly amazing results, whether it's the best chai or the most spectacular annual day ever.
Let's start with planning.
Okay, pillar 1, planning for perfection. This is where you decide exactly what quality means for your project and how you're actually going to make sure you achieve it. It's like creating that detailed blueprint for your dream treehouse before you even pick up a single hammer or saw. You wouldn't just start nailing planks together randomly, right? You'd plan.
That's right. You absolutely need a plan. And the key benefit here is providing clear, unambiguous guidance. This plan tells everyone involved in the project, your team, your teachers, maybe even the suppliers, exactly how quality will be handled from the very start to the very finish.
Like a rule book for quality.
Precisely. It's a living document that helps avoid confusion, it reduces wasted effort, and it prevents those costly mistakes later on. Everyone knows the standard they're aiming for. It's about setting the rules of the game for quality right up front.
Makes sense. So to plan quality effectively, you need information, right? You can't just, guess what good is. It's like needing a detailed shopping list and a precise recipe before you start cooking a complicated dish for a big festival dinner. You need the right inputs.
Exactly. Good inputs lead to a good plan.
So what are these inputs? What information do you need?
Well, first, you look at the project charter. This is the big idea, the main purpose and vision of your project.
Well, why?
The why, exactly. For your school's annual day, it would be the grand vision, something like, we are putting on the best cultural show ever, one that celebrates our school's diversity and talent and maybe raises funds for a good cause. It sets those high-level goals and success criteria that will guide all your quality effort.
Okay, the big vision. What else?
Then you need your overall project management plan. This is your comprehensive roadmap for the entire project, not just quality.
The master plan.
Right. It includes crucial details like what exactly needs to be done, the scope, who will do it, resources, when it will be done, schedule, and importantly, how potential problems or risks will be handled. So for the annual day, it would include the detailed schedule for dance practices, who is specifically in charge of costume, sound, lighting, and what contingency plans you have if, say, a key performer falls sick.
So it connects quality to everything else.
Absolutely. It ties into other plans, like your requirements management plan, how you'll handle what's needed, your risk management plan, what could go wrong, and maybe your stakeholder engagement plan, whose expectations you're trying to meet. Quality doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Got it. Charter. Overall plan. What's next?
Next are the project documents. These are more specific notes and details that provide granular information, things like
Like the nitty-gritty.
Exactly. For instance, your requirements documentation would meticulously outline what exactly each dance performance needs. The specific music track, the exact props required, the precise lighting cues down to the second. Or your risk register would contain notes on potential problems identified early on, like risk of costume supplier delay or risk of microphone feedback. These documents are vital because they spell out the specific expectations you need to meet for quality.
Okay, the detailed specs and potential problems make sense.
Then you also need to consider enterprise environmental factors. Now that sounds jargony,
A little bit.
but it just means things outside your immediate project team's control that significantly affect your project. Think of government rules about safety for public events, specific school policies about stage setup, or even the unpredictable weather on the actual annual day. You have to factor these external things into your quality planning.
Right, things you can't control but have to deal with.
Exactly. And finally, there are organizational process assets. This is like your family's treasured recipe book for your favorite dishes, or maybe a collection of old school notes from seniors who aced their exams.
Ah, the wisdom of the past.
Precisely. It includes previous experiences, templates, standardized quality procedures your school might have, and especially, crucially, lessons learned from past annual days. If the sound system was a nightmare last year, you'd find notes about that here and use them to plan better this year. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to.
So charter, plan, documents, external factors, and past lessons. That's a lot of information gathering.
It is, but it's essential for a solid plan. Now, once you have all that crucial information about what you're trying to achieve and what conditions you're working under, how do you actually make this quality plan? We use some smart systematic techniques.
Okay, the tools and techniques, let's hear them.
Well, one of the simplest and often most effective is getting expert judgment.
Just asking someone who knows.
Pretty much. Asking someone who's done it successfully before, someone with specialized knowledge. Like asking that senior who brilliantly organized the last annual day for their invaluable tips on managing sound and lights, or asking a dance teacher about how to perfectly execute complex choreography. Their experience is gold. Seriously, saves you time and prevents common mistakes.
Good idea. Talk to the experts. What else?
Then there's data gathering. You need to collect relevant information actively. This could involve benchmarking.
Benchmarking. What's that?
It means looking at what other successful schools did for their annual day. What exactly made their show truly great? What did they do differently that you can learn from? Maybe their stage transitions were super smooth or their audience engagement was fantastic. It's about learning from the best practices out there.
Okay, seeing what others do well.
You might also use brainstorming. Just sitting with your friends, your team, your teachers, throwing out all sorts of creative ideas for performances, themes, and crucially, how to make them perfect. Get all the ideas on the table.
Like a big idea session.
Yeah. And interviews. Talking directly to key people like the dance teacher about their specific expectations for performance quality, or the principal about the school's overall standards for public events. This helps capture both the written requirements and those unwritten implicit expectations.
So experts, benchmarking, brainstorming, interviews, lots of talking and looking around.
Gathering data, yeah.
Yeah.
Then after gathering all that data, you need to analyze it. This is data analysis.
Making sense of it all.
Right. One key tool here is cost-benefit analysis. This is where you weigh the pros and cons financially. For example, deciding if buying those very expensive, sparkling, custom-made costumes is truly worth the investment for just one performance, or if simpler, more cost-effective ones will also work beautifully and save significant money. The benefit you get from an activity should always outweigh its cost.
So is the fancy costume really necessary for the quality goal?
Exactly, and this leads us directly to a really crucial concept, the cost of quality, often called COQ.
COQ!
This includes all the costs related to ensuring and achieving quality, but also, importantly, the hidden costs of not achieving it. It generally has three main parts, though sometimes split into four.
Okay, break it down for me.
First, prevention costs. This is the money or effort you spend before problems even happen, specifically to prevent them. Like paying for extra dance classes to perfect the steps for your annual day performance, or doing regular maintenance on the school sound equipment before the event. It's about building quality in from the start, investing up front.
Proactive spending, got it.
Second, appraisal costs. This is the money or effort spent checking for problems during the process, like having multiple full dress rehearsals for the annual day, or getting an independent technical team to inspect the stage setup beforehand. You're assessing if you're on track, spending money on testing and inspection.
Checking your work. Okay.
And third, failure costs. These are the costs incurred after problems happen because you didn't prevent or catch them. These are often split into two types.
Internal and external.
Exactly. Internal failure costs. This is if you find a mistake during a rehearsal, say a prop breaks or a lighting cue is missed, and you fix it before the actual show. It's an internal problem caught by your team. You still spend time and money to fix it, maybe rework it, but the audience never sees the failure.
Okay, caught it before it went public.
Right. But then there are external failure costs. This is if a prop breaks during the actual show in front of the entire audience, or if the sound system fails mid-performance. This can lead to massive embarrassment, loss of reputation for the school, maybe even having to offer refunds or compensation. These are failures caught by the customer or the end user, and they often damage trust and future opportunities far more than internal failures.
Wow. That really highlights a key concept, doesn't it? Prevention is preferred over inspection. It is always, always cheaper and better to get it right the first time to prevent mistakes than to find and fix them later, especially if they become external failures.
Absolutely. That's probably the single most important financial takeaway in quality management.
Think about it. Isn't it much better to double-check your homework thoroughly before submitting it? That's prevention. Than to get a bad grade and then have to do it all over again, or worse, face disciplinary action. Those are definitely failure costs. The core insight here is that investing a little in prevention saves you a lot more heartache and expense down the line.
Couldn't agree more. Then, moving on with techniques, you apply decision-making. Using tools like a prioritization matrix, you might decide which quality factors are most important for the show. For example, is the stage presence and energy of the dancers more critical than absolutely perfect background music timing, or vice versa? These tools help you rank and score different options or criteria to make the best choice, aligning with your overall project goals.
So focusing your quality efforts where they matter most.
Precisely. And to help visualize all this complex information, we use data representation tools.
Pictures. Or diagrams.
Diagrams, yeah. Flowcharts are great, like drawing a step-by-step diagram of how a complex dance will be choreographed, showing decision points, or how the sound system will be set up, showing all the steps and connections. This visual map helps you spot potential errors or bottlenecks in the process before they even happen.
Like seeing the weak points.
Exactly. And mind mapping is another visual tool. It's a great way to organize all your ideas for the annual day, connecting themes, specific props, and the roles of different team members. It helps you rapidly gather and link project quality requirements and dependencies in a really creative, non-linear way.
Okay, flowcharts and mind maps. Useful visual tools.
And finally, under planning. Test and inspection planning is crucial. This involves deciding specifically when and how you'll test the sound, the lights, each performance. Will there be a full dress rehearsal, a technical rehearsal focused only on equipment? You need to specify how you'll verify quality later on. This ensures you don't leave checking things to chance at the last minute.
Plan how you're going to check. Okay, so after all that meticulous planning, all those inputs and techniques, what do you actually get out of it? What are the tangible outputs that guide your next steps?
Good question. You get two key outputs.
Right.
First, you get your quality management plan. This is your detailed roadmap, your rulebook for quality for the entire annual day project. It includes all the specific quality standards you'll use, who's responsible for what quality-related activity, what checks and activities you'll do to ensure and verify quality, and what tools you'll use. It's the ultimate guide for everyone involved.
The master plan for quality.
Exactly. And second, you'll have quality metrics. These are specific, measurable ways to determine if you're actually achieving quality. For the annual day, it could be something like percentage of dance steps performed correctly during the dress rehearsal, or number of minutes the sound system works perfectly without any glitches, or maybe audience satisfaction score above 8 out of 10.
Things you can actually count or measure.
Precisely. These metrics allow you to track your progress objectively and assess performance. They tell you, numerically, if you're on the right track.
So the plan tells you how, and the metrics tell you how well.
You got it. And these outputs become the fundamental backbone for the next phases of your project. They provide the clear guidance and measurable targets that will inform and guide every single action you take moving forward, ensuring that the quality objectives you set are continually being worked towards and ultimately met. This plan is what builds confidence in your entire project.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Planning is crucial. So you've done all that amazing planning. You have your detailed quality roadmap, your metrics. Now what?
Now we move to the second pillar, manage quality.
Right. Manage quality. This is all about taking that incredible plan and actively putting it into action, right? It's about making sure everyone is actually following the quality steps you decided on, and that your processes themselves are working well to produce quality.
Exactly. This is often called quality assurance QA because it's where you build confidence, you assure yourself and others that your project's processes are sound and will produce good output.
So it's not just checking the final chai, it's checking the chai-making method itself.
Perfect analogy. It's
Right.
like not just checking if your chai tastes good at the very end, but making sure your method of making chai, the water temperature, the brewing time, the order of adding ingredients, is consistent and produces good results every single time. It's about ensuring the process itself is high quality. You're not just looking at the final product, but making sure the steps to create it are robust, efficient, and designed to prevent errors.
Okay, focusing on the process. So what do you need to manage quality effectively? What are the inputs here?
Well, you definitely need your guidebooks and the latest information. It's a continuous cycle of learning and applying.
Right.
First, your main guide is the quality management plan that you created. It tells you what quality standards you're aiming for and how you plan to implement them.
The rule book again.
Always. Then, your lessons learned register. This is super important. It's where you keep track of what you learned from similar past projects, or even from earlier phases of this very project. Did the mic system mysteriously fail last time you organized an event? What did you discover was the cause? And what did you do to fix it? This record helps you avoid repeating mistakes and leverage past successes. You're continually improving your approach based on experience.
Don't make the same mistake twice.
Hopefully not. You'll also use quality control measurements. Now, we'll talk more about these in the next segment, but these are the actual results from specific checks you've already done on certain elements. You use this data coming back from the checking process to see if your current managing processes are actually delivering the desired results. For example, if rehearsals are showing fewer and fewer mistakes over time, your quality management activities are probably working.
Using feedback from checks to improve the process.
Exactly. And finally, the quality metrics you defined earlier, those specific measurements like number of defects or percentage of tasks completed on time. You use these as a basis for assessing how well your managing quality efforts are performing against the targets you set.
Okay, plan, lessons, measurements, metrics. Got it. Now, how do you actually do this managing part smartly? What are the tools and techniques for ensuring the process is good?
There are several effective tools and techniques here that help ensure your processes are top-notch.
Let's hear them.
Checklists are back. They're incredibly simple, but remarkably powerful, especially for ensuring processes are followed consistently. For the annual day, imagine that checklist for the sound team again. Mic A charged, mic B connected, speaker volume checked, music system connected. It ensures no critical step is missed and promotes consistency, reducing human error in the process itself.
Simple but effective.
Very. Under data analysis, we have several useful approaches for improving processes. Process analysis involves looking closely step by step at the sequence for, say, the entire costume creation process. From design approval to stitching to final fitting, is there a bottleneck? Is there a step prone to errors? Is there a faster, better, or less error-prone way to do it? Can you streamline it to achieve better quality with less effort? You're examining the workflow itself.
Finding ways to make the process smoother.
And then root cause analysis, RCA. This is where it gets really interesting and incredibly effective for managing quality by improving processes. If a particular dance step consistently goes wrong during rehearsals for several dancers, RCA is about digging deeper than just saying practice more. You ask why. Is it because the music tempo is too fast for that specific sequence? Is the dancer tired or improperly trained for that particular move? Is the stage floor unexpectedly slippery in that spot? You find the underlying reason behind the problem so you can fix the process or the conditions permanently rather than just patching the symptom temporarily.
Getting to the real source of the problem.
Precisely. It's like finding out why your bike tire keeps getting punctured. Is it the recurring nail on your route? Low air pressure? Bad roads in a specific area? Rather than just patching it again and again and hoping it holds. The key insight here is that fixing symptoms is often a never-ending cycle. Truly impactful quality improvement comes from eradicating the root cause, making the problem disappear for good by fixing the process that allowed it.
Makes total sense. Fix the root, not just the symptom.
Then you have audits. These are like an independent, often more formal check on your processes. Imagine a senior teacher, or maybe even a parent volunteer, someone who isn't directly involved in the day-to-day annual day planning, coming to watch a rehearsal or review your documentation. They're not there to judge the performance itself, but to systematically see if all your planned quality processes like practice schedules, costume fitting procedures, sound check routines are being followed correctly and efficiently.
An outside pair of eyes.
Exactly. They look for good practices to highlight and share, and also identify areas where improvements can be made to the process, offering an unbiased perspective. It helps ensure you're actually doing what you said you'd do in your plan.
Okay, audits. Check if the process is being followed.
Then there's Design for X, DFX. This is a very smart approach, quite proactive, that integrates quality thinking right from the design stage of whatever you're creating.
Design for X, like design for quality.
Essentially, yes. X represents a specific quality aspect you want to prioritize. For example, if you're designing a new school bag, design for durability, DFD, would mean you choose inherently strong zips and tough, tear-resistant fabric from day one. Design for usability, DFU, would be making sure it's comfortable to carry and has enough easily accessible pockets. You're building quality in, by design, making it a fundamental part of the product or service, rather than trying to inspect it in later.
Thinking about quality right from the start of the design. Clever.
Very. Then there's problem solving. This is a core skill, a structured approach for when things inevitably go wrong despite your best efforts. If a major problem comes up unexpectedly, like a key dancer getting injured just before the show, you follow a systematic process. First, define the problem clearly. Second, find its root cause. For example, maybe inadequate warm-up routines in the process. Third, brainstorm various possible solutions. For example, use an understudy, re-choreograph a section, adjust the schedule. Fourth, pick the best solution based on criteria. Fifth, implement it. And finally, crucially, check if it actually worked. This systematic approach prevents panic and ensures effective resolution, improving the process for next time.
A calm, step-by-step way to handle crises.
Exactly. And finally, there are ongoing quality improvement methods. These are frameworks for making things better continuously.
Like that PDCA thing.
Exactly. The Plan, Do, Check Act, PDCA cycle, is a fantastic and widely used method for continuous improvement. It's a loop. Plan. Decide what process you want to improve, e.g. make dance practice feedback more effective. Do. Try out a new way of doing things on a small scale. For example, implement short, focused feedback sessions immediately after each routine. Check. See if it worked. For example, are dancers understanding corrections better? Are improvements happening faster? Act. If it worked, make the new way the standard practice. If not, analyze why and try something else. It's how your favorite chaiwala constantly perfects his recipe over time, tweaking and refining based on customer feedback and his own observations. This cyclical process is the engine of relentless, iterative refinement. It's how average becomes excellent, one small, smart adjustment at a time.
Plan, do, check, act. I like that cycle. And you mentioned other methods like Six Sigma or TQM. Those sound serious.
They are more comprehensive strategies, often used in larger organizations. Six Sigma focuses intensely on reducing defects and variations using statistical methods, aiming for near perfection. Total Quality Management, TQM, is a broader philosophy involving everyone in the organization in continuous quality improvement. They're essentially bigger, more structured versions of the PDCA idea applied across the board to achieve sustained excellence, but the core idea is the same: always be improving.
Okay, so managing quality involves checklists, analysis like RCA, audits, smart design, problem solving, and continuous improvement cycles like PDCA. What do you get out of all this process-focused effort? What are the outputs here?
Good question. From actively managing quality, you get a couple of key things. First, you get quality reports. These are like scorecards or status updates showing how well your quality processes are performing. They might highlight problems encountered, trends observed, recommend specific improvements to processes, and summarize findings from your quality assurance activities like audits. They help you communicate progress and issues to everyone involved, keeping them informed.
Reports on how the process is doing.
Exactly. And you also produce test and evaluation documents. These are detailed plans and instructions for how you'll rigorously test the actual outputs in the next phase, control quality. For example, specific step-by-step instructions on how to test the stage lights for brightness consistency across the stage, or how to test microphone sensitivity and range. These ensure that the checking process itself is thorough, repeatable, and standardized.
Detailed instructions for the final checks.
Precisely. And very importantly, the lessons learned register gets updated again with all the new insights gained during this managed quality phase. Every time you improve a process using RCA or PDCA, every challenge you overcame through problem solving, whether good or bad, it all gets captured here.
Building that knowledge base.
Absolutely. This ensures that the knowledge gained isn't lost and can be used to benefit future projects, making your team or organization smarter and more efficient over time. This constant learning is what truly builds excellence.
Okay, so we've planned for quality, we've managed the processes, now comes the third pillar, right? The taste test for the chai.
Exactly. Pillar 3, control quality. This is the final checkpoint, the crucial moment of truth.
This sounds important.
It is. Control quality is where you actually inspect the finished items or the deliverables to make sure they are exactly what you planned and, most importantly, what the customer or the audience expects. It's like that moment you taste your mom's cooking to see if the salt is perfect, if it's cooked through before serving it to guests for a big family dinner. This is where you confirm, yes, we did it right, or oops, needs a bit more salt.
The final check before it goes out the door.
Precisely. The key benefit here is clear. Verification. You are formally verifying that the project's outputs, the deliverables, are complete, correct, and meet all the specified requirements laid out in your plan. This is the last stop before final acceptance. If you're making that school project, say the working model of a volcano for your science fair, this is where you compare your final model against the marking rubric and your initial design specifications. Does it actually erupt when you add the baking soda and vinegar? Is the structure stable and neatly put together? Does it look like the diagram you submitted, the final stamp of approval? Verifying the actual result.
Okay, verifying the final product. So what do you need to do these essential checks? What are the inputs for control quality?
You need several things to guide your inspection.
Yeah.
First, your main reference is, again, the project management plan, and specifically the quality management plan component. This is your rule book, telling you exactly what standards and procedures to follow when checking the quality of the deliverables. What are the acceptance criteria?
The rulebook strikes again.
It's essential. Then, you need other project documents, like your quality metrics, those specific measurements you defined, like 95% of dance steps accurate, and your test and evaluation documents the detailed plans from the previous phase telling you how to test things, like run sound check for 10 minutes of performance volume. These documents give you the specific checklist of what to measure and how to perform the tests consistently.
The metrics and the testing instructions.
Right. You also need to review any approved change requests. If anything was changed along the way, for example, a different, maybe simpler stage prop was approved because the original fancy one wasn't available. You need to check that the new approved prop is the one being used and that it works as expected within the performance. You're verifying that approved changes were actually implemented correctly.
Checking the changes were done right. Okay.
Crucially, you need the deliverables themselves. These are the actual things you've produced. The recorded performance of a dance, the finished school volcano model, the painted backdrop for the annual day stage. These are the physical or tangible items you're inspecting and validating.
The actual stuff you made.
Exactly. And finally, you need work performance data. These are the raw observations and measurements collected during the work itself, like the actual volume levels recorded during a song rehearsal, or the raw count of errors found during a dance practice run-through. This raw data is what you'll analyze during control quality to make your judgments about whether the deliverable meets the standard.
Okay, plan, metrics, test instructions, changes, the thing itself, and raw data. Got the inputs.
Now, how do you actually put these things under the microscope. What are the tools and techniques for control quality?
Here's how you perform these vital checks to confirm your project's success or identify where fixes are needed. Under data gathering, you again rely on some familiar and very practical tools. Checklists are incredibly useful here too for inspection. Did the dancers hit all their marks during the final dress rehearsal? Is the music playing at the exact right tempo throughout the performance? Did the volcano model erupt for the required duration? These simple lists ensure thoroughness during the inspection and that no critical detail is missed.
Checking off the requirements. Check sheets, also known as tally sheets, are perfect for counting defects or occurrences during inspection. Imagine you're watching the final rehearsal and counting the number of times a certain type of mistake happens. Here, G, costume malfunction, tally mark 1, 2, missed light cue, tally 1, 2, 3. This helps you quickly identify common or frequent problems in the final output that need addressing before the real show. It shows you where the remaining problems are concentrated.
Counting the errors.
Statistical sampling is smart when you have a large number of similar items to check. If you're checking that huge batch of 500 printed annual day invitations for print quality, you don't necessarily need to inspect every single one meticulously. You might choose to check a small random sample, say 20 of them, to see if they're all printed correctly without smudges or errors. If the sample looks good, you can be reasonably confident the whole batch is okay. This gives you a good idea of the overall quality without the massive effort of 100% inspection, saving time and resources.
Checking a few to represent the many.
Questionnaires and surveys can also be used here, especially to gather feedback after the deliverable has been used. After the annual day, sending out that feedback form to students, parents, and teachers. How is the sound quality? How are the costumes? Were you satisfied with the overall experience? This helps identify issues that might represent external failures, like loss of goodwill or reputation, if people were unsatisfied, and provides data for future improvement. This feedback is priceless.
Gathering feedback after the fact, okay.
Then for data analysis, you compare your inspection observations with your quality plan and metrics. Performance reviews involve comparing the actual performance of the deliverable, for example, the recorded sound levels during the show, the measured accuracy of dance steps, against your planned quality metrics. Did you meet the targets you set? Are you within the acceptable tolerance range?
Comparing results to the plan.
Root cause analysis, RCA, is used again if you find significant defects during inspection. If the stage lights flickered unexpectedly during the dress rehearsal, and it wasn't caught earlier, you'd use RCA now to figure out if it was a faulty bulb, a loose wire, a power fluctuation, or a mistake by the operator. You still want to find and fix the underlying issue before the final performance, ensuring a permanent solution.
Finding the cause of the final problems.
Inspection itself is a core technique here. This is a hands-on, direct examination of the deliverable. Physically checking the stability of the stage props, visually examining the condition of the microphones, or verifying the neatness and quality of the final costumes. It's about direct observation and comparison to your established standards. Looking, touching, measuring.
The actual hands-on check.
And testing product evaluations involve putting the deliverable through its paces, simulating real use. For the annual day, this is the grand dress rehearsal where the entire show runs as if it's the real thing, testing everything from start to finish, lighting cues, sound transitions, costume changes under performance conditions. For that volcano model, it's actually mixing the chemicals and making it erupt. For a construction project, it would be conducting a load test on a bridge or a strength test on concrete samples. You're making sure it works under pressure.
Putting it through a real test.
And again, to visualize the data from your checks and spot trends, data representation tools are invaluable. Cause and effect diagrams, those fishbone or Ishikawa diagrams, are used here too, to analyze defects found during inspection. If the audience feedback indicated boredom during a certain act, you'd brainstorm categories of potential causes, e.g. performers, script, pacing, technical aspects, and then list specific possible causes under each category to help pinpoint the root problem with the deliverable itself.
Figuring out why something failed the check.
Control charts are powerful graphs, especially if you're monitoring a characteristic over time during production or testing. Remember tracking the sound system volume. You set an upper and lower control limit based on what's acceptable. If measurements taken during the final tests fall outside these preset limits, it signals that the process which created that output might be out of control, or the output itself is defective, requiring immediate attention. It helps you catch problems and variations objectively. It's like tracking your scores in practice tests. If they suddenly drop below your target range, it signals a problem needing investigation before the real exam.
Keeping things within limits.
Histograms are bar graphs used to show the frequency distribution of defects or measurements. For example, you could create a histogram showing which type of mistake happened most often during the final dress rehearsal. Example, 10 costume issues, 5 miscues, 2 sound problems. This visually highlights where the biggest remaining quality problems lie, helping you focus your final fixing efforts for maximum impact before the show.
Seeing where the most frequent problems are.
Exactly. Lots of tools to help you check effectively.
Okay, so checklists, check sheets, sampling, surveys, analysis, inspection, testing, and those charts.
Got it. After all these thorough checks and analyses in control quality, what do you get out? What are your key outputs from this final pillar?
This phase produces some really critical outputs.
All right, let's hear them.
First, you get quality control measurements. These are the actual documented results of your inspection and testing activities, like a formal report saying, sound system worked perfectly for 95% of the show duration during final test, or only 2 out of 50 costumes had minor stitching defects requiring rework. These are the objective data points that document the quality status of the deliverables.
The documented results of the checks. Then you have verified deliverables. This is a huge milestone. These are the project deliverables that have been rigorously checked through the control quality process and confirmed to meet all the specified quality requirements. For the annual day, it's the verified dance performances that are officially ready for the stage and the verified stage setup that is deemed safe and complete. These verified items are now ready for formal acceptance by the customer, sponsor, or audience.
The stuff that passed the test, ready to go.
Exactly. You also get work performance information. This is a summarized report, often more contextualized than the raw data, showing how the overall process went regarding quality. It might highlight what passed inspection, what failed, what needed fixing and whether it was fixed, and the current status of your key quality metrics compared to the plan. It's a snapshot of your project's quality health communicated upwards or outwards.
A summary of how things went, quality-wise.
And finally, you might generate change requests. If you find a major problem during these final checks that wasn't caught earlier, for example, a crucial part of the stage structure is found to be unsafe, or a critical lighting fixture is completely non-functional, you would raise a formal change request to get it fixed, replaced, or maybe even to adjust the scope if fixing isn't possible. This ensures significant problems found late are addressed systematically and formally.
Formal request to fix the big problems found at the end.
Right. And importantly, guess what else gets updated?
Well, let me guess. The lessons learned register.
You got it. The lessons learned register gets updated again with all the new insights from this final checking phase. Every defect found and its cause, every successful test procedure, every process adjustment made based on inspection results, it all goes into the register. This knowledge helps improve future projects and continually refine your approach to quality control itself. It ensures that the project team learns from both successes and failures right up to the very end, becoming more effective with each new endeavor. This constant learning loop is what truly builds excellence over time.
Plan, manage, control, and learn. Seems like learning is part of every step.
It absolutely should be. Quality management is a learning process.
Wow, okay, we've covered so much ground on the 3 pillars. Now let's maybe zoom out a bit for some key insights on how modern approaches are shaping quality. You mentioned something earlier that sounded really important. Quality versus grade. You said they're not the same thing.
That's right, and it's a crucial distinction that often trips people up. They are definitely not the same.
Okay, explain this difference. Grade versus quality.
So grade is about the category, the features, the complexity, or the technical sophistication of a product or service. It's a classification based on its technical characteristics. Think of different grades of petrol, or different models of a car with varying features.
Like basic versus luxury.
Exactly. Quality, on the other hand, is about how well that product or service meets its specified requirements. It's about the degree to which it fulfills expectations and is fit for its intended use. It's about conformance to requirements.
Okay. Can you give an example?
Sure. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine a basic, very simple mobile phone, the kind that just makes calls and sends basic messages, maybe a classic old Nokia. It has very few features, so we'd say it's a low-grade phone.
Right, not many bells and whistles.
But if it worked perfectly, makes crystal clear calls every single time, its battery lasts for days, and it never hangs or gives you any trouble, then it's a high-quality, low-grade product. It perfectly meets its requirements.
Okay, simple but works perfectly.
Now, imagine a super fancy, expensive smartphone with tons of features, a huge camera, massive storage, all the latest apps. That's a high-grade product, right?
Definitely high grade.
But what if its battery drains in just an hour, apps constantly crash, and the amazing camera doesn't focus properly half the time? Then it's a low-quality, high-grade product.
Fancy but faulty.
Exactly. And honestly, you'd probably rather have the simple, perfectly working phone, wouldn't you? It might be low grade, but its high quality makes it perfectly fit for its purpose. Ultimately, quality isn't about how fancy something is. It's about whether it reliably does what it's supposed to do, consistently fulfilling its purpose and maybe even delighting its users because it just works.
That makes so much sense. So low grade can still be high quality.
Absolutely. A low-grade, high-quality product is perfectly acceptable, often even preferred, if it serves its intended purpose reliably and meets its requirements. However, a high-grade, low-quality product is usually a huge problem because all those fancy features are essentially useless if they don't work correctly or consistently. The key takeaway is, don't automatically confuse more features, high-grade, with better quality. Quality is about meeting the needs you set out to meet, reliably and consistently.
Got it. Quality is fitness for purpose, grade is features. Crucial distinction. Now, you also mentioned modern quality management isn't just a one-time check.
Right. It's really shifted towards being about always getting better. Like a great sports team constantly training, analyzing their past games, and refining their strategies to improve their performance over the entire season, not just for one match. The plan-do-check act cycle we discussed earlier is absolutely essential here. It's the engine of continual improvement.
Because you're never really done with quality.
In a way, no. You're always looking for ways to enhance the process, reduce waste, improve efficiency, and better satisfy the customer or user. You're always finding ways to make things better, even if just a little bit.
And this helps.
Definitely. This approach helps minimize variations in your output, making things more consistent, and consistently ensures customer satisfaction because you're constantly refining things based on feedback and analysis. It's fundamentally about ensuring both fitness for use and conformance to requirements. Take a simple everyday item, like a tiffin box.
Okay, lunchbox.
It must hold food without leaking that's conformist to requirements. And it also needs to be easy to open, close, and clean. That's fitness for use. Continual improvement makes sure it keeps doing both reliably, and perhaps the manufacturer even finds ways to make it easier to clean or more leak-proof with each new design iteration based on customer feedback or new materials.
Always making the tiffin box better. I like it.
Now, another key point is that every project is unique, right? So the specific quality checks and the intensity, the rigor of quality management for building a small house are going to be very different from building a massive skyscraper or a nuclear power plant. You always need to adapt and tailor your quality management approach based on the project's specific context, its size, its complexity, the industry it's in, any specific rules or regulations, and the potential risks involved.
One size doesn't fit all for quality management.
Not at all. Just like you'd plan your study schedule and the depth of your preparation differently for a small weekly class test versus your hugely important final board exams. The underlying principles of planning, managing, and controlling quality are the same. But the application, the specific tools, the frequency of checks, the level of documentation is tailored to the context and criticality of the project.
Makes sense. Scale it appropriately. What about those fast-moving projects you mentioned, like apps? How does quality work there?
Yes. In some projects, especially fast-moving ones like developing a new mobile app, or maybe even putting together a complex school play where things change rapidly, quality checks don't just happen at the end, or even just at major milestones. They happen all the time, very frequently. This is where the Agile approach to quality comes in.
Agile quality. How's that different?
In Agile methods, they typically work in small batches or short cycles, often called sprints, and they build in frequent quality reviews throughout each cycle. This means they might develop and release small working parts of the app very quickly, get immediate feedback from actual users or testers, and fix problems early in the process.
Finding problems sooner.
Exactly. When issues are caught early, when only a small part has been built, it's much cheaper and easier to change things. Think of it like building a huge, complex Lego model. The Agile way is like building a small section, maybe the base, checking that it's correct, strong, and fits perfectly with the next plan section before moving on. This is far better than building the entire massive thing and only then realizing the base is fundamentally wrong and you have to dismantle everything and start over.
Yeah, that would be frustrating.
Immensely. Agile project teams also hold regular retrospectives at the end of each short cycle, which are essentially quick, focused check-act cycles from PDCA to discuss what went well in their process, what could be improved, and how to refine their ways of working for the next cycle. They're constantly learning and adapting on the go. This continuous feedback loop, both on the product and the process, is why Agile projects can often deliver higher quality results faster, especially in rapidly changing environments.
So faster feedback, smaller steps, constant adjustment. Sounds smart.
It can be very effective when applied correctly.
So we've talked about all these amazing tools and techniques, the pillars, the modern approaches. But what are some common pitfalls? Where do people usually mess up, even with the best intentions? Did your sources mention any common challenges?
Yes, they did highlight a few recurring issues. One common mistake is not involving all the right people, all the relevant stakeholders, from the very beginning of the quality planning.
Like forgetting someone important.
Exactly. If you're designing a new school playground and you don't ask the children, the main users, what kind of equipment they actually want, you might build a technically high-quality playground, according to safety standards, but one that nobody enjoys playing on. You missed a key requirement because you didn't talk to the right stakeholder.
Good point. Got to talk to the users. What else?
Another pitfall is often ignoring early warning signs during the managed quality phase. If, during a practice session for the annual day, a particular dancer keeps missing a specific step, but the teacher just tells them to try harder instead of doing a quick root cause analysis to see why, that small ignored problem can easily become a big visible mistake on the final performance night. It's about actively listening to the data your processes are giving you, even when it's pointing to a problem that might be uncomfortable to address. Don't sweep things under the rug.
Face the problems early.
Right. And sometimes, people simply don't consistently update their lessons learned register. They solve a tricky problem, maybe figure out a brilliant way to fix a recurring sound issue, but they don't write down how they solved it. So the very next project, or even the next team organizing the event next year, makes the exact same mistake and has to figure it all out again from scratch.
It's like relearning how to tie your shoelaces every single day. What a waste of effort.
Precisely. Capturing and sharing that knowledge is key to long-term quality improvement.
Wow, what a journey. We've truly unpacked the world of project quality management today. From the big idea of planning for perfection, defining what good looks like,
To the active process of managing for excellence, making sure your processes are sound.
and finally, the crucial step of controlling and checking for success, verifying the final outcome.
It's really clear now, I hope, that quality isn't just some buzzword or a nice-to-have luxury. It's a structured, systematic approach. It ensures that what you create actually meets its intended purpose, hopefully delights those who use it, and provides real, tangible value.
Yeah.
We learned about the immense importance of preventing mistakes rather than just finding and fixing them later, understanding the true, often hidden cost of quality, and how sometimes a basic, well-made product can be far better and more valuable than a fancy, feature-rich, but ultimately faulty one. It's really about building confidence at every single stage.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? Well, next time you see something that's really well made, something that truly works perfectly. Maybe it's a perfectly delivered davaba from your favorite local restaurant, always hot, always correct. Or maybe a smoothly running school bus service that's always on time.
Or maybe something that totally disappoints you, like a poorly stitched school uniform that falls apart after 2 washes, or a new water bottle that starts leaking on the first day.
Yeah, take a moment. Think about the quality management, or perhaps the lack thereof, that likely went into it behind the scenes.
And this raises an important, maybe even provocative question for you to ponder. What if you consciously apply these ideas, this cycle of planning, managing, and controlling for quality, to something simple in your own life?
Like what?
Perhaps to meticulously preparing for a school debate competition, planning your arguments, researching evidence, plan quality, practicing your delivery, getting feedback, refining your timing, manage quality, doing a final run-through, checking against the rules, control quality.
Okay, I see how that could apply.
Or maybe organizing your study notes for a big exam, planning the structure, identifying key topics, plan, systematically making the notes, using diagrams, summarizing chapters, manage, reviewing them, testing yourself, checking for gaps, control, ensuring they're clear, complete, and easy to review, hopefully leading to that top score.
Right.
Or even ensuring your favorite family recipe, like that perfect biryani or those amazing gulab jamuns, turns out perfectly every single time you make it, delighting your family and friends. How is thinking consciously about quality before you start, during the process, and checking after you finish make a difference in your personal outcomes and your success.
That's a great challenge. Start small, maybe with just one thing. Experiment. But think big about how applying these principles of quality, plan, manage, control, learn can potentially transform everything you do, from your school projects to your personal goals.
You now have a powerful new lens to see the world, and perhaps more importantly, a framework to make your own world, your own creations, significantly better, one quality outcome at a time.
Thanks for diving deep with us today into the world of project quality management.